Hello and welcome back to On Air with Dr. Pete. I'm your host, Dr. Pete Economo, and I am thrilled to have Dr. Cali Estes with us on this podcast. Cali, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I've had the recent great pleasure of being on Dr. Estes' podcast, Unpause Your Life, and she has got a great podcast. You have to tune into it. So if you're unfamiliar with her, Dr. Estes is a highly sought-after celebrity coach. She's otherwise known as the battery recharger. So for the last 25 years, she's become one of the top transformational coaches and wellness gurus, assisting people to achieve their dreams and goals and breaking down barriers. She's also a best-selling author and media spokesperson, helping people to unpause their lives and unpack those backpacks. And we had a great conversation. So like I said, if you have the chance and you haven't already listened to it, get to Unpause Your Life. But welcome, Dr. Estes, and I'm so glad you're here. So how'd you get into this field? Let my audience know a little bit of your background.
Well, thanks, Dr. Pete. Thanks for having me. I didn't want to be in this field. It chose me. I chose to be an FBI agent. And I was doing my internship at SCI Rockview, and I really wanted to get into, the crazy stuff. And my mentor was ex-CIA, and he said, you don't want to be in this, but I will teach you body language. So I learned body language. And long story short, when I was in college, I came home, they have the girls' nights, Thursday night, and I came home and all my friends had, hooked up, had a boyfriend, what have you. And I was upset. So I'm sitting on the floor. If you can imagine, I'm eating cake with my hands, crying, what's wrong with me? And my roommate walks in and she goes, dude, that's not normal. And I thought that was normal because that's what we did in my house growing up. Like when you're stressed, you eat. When you're happy, you eat. When you're sad, you eat. Eating was a thing.
Yes.
So I ended up going to the counselor who said, well, you don't have an addiction or you don't have an eating disorder. You're just fat. So I went to the fat doctor who put me on fen-phen. Fen-phen led to speed. Led me to the ER when the doctor said you have an addiction. And I said, the doctor put me on this. It's not an addiction. It's doctor prescribed medication, which led me down the rabbit hole of how do I get off of this stuff? Yeah. Because my heart was giving out at 23. And that's how I got into this. So I started studying addiction and alternatives to what we can offer clients and what we can provide. And I got real good at it. And I have been doing this ever since.
We all have our personal story that kind of gets there. So thanks for sharing that. And I mean, how scary is a 23-year-old to be there and, and the fat doctor, and it's crazy, like all these prescribed medicines that are out there that lead to this.
It's crazy. And I wasn't given any, here are any warning signs or anything. It was, here's the medication, read, that laundry list of side effects. Nobody reads that. They just crumple it up and throw it out.
Sure.
And I had no idea that there would be a detox involved to this. I had no idea this had hijacked my body because nobody said, hey, this is what's going to happen. Yeah. And I went from 160 pounds down to 90 pounds in 3 months.
No.
Yeah. And nobody said, hey, that's unsafe. They went, oh my God, you look amazing. Look how thin you are. Look how beautiful you are. And it was, you're getting these accolades. You're like, ooh, this is the right cause of treatment. This is the right way, you know?
Did you have, I'm going to ask a little personal question. Did you have body dysmorphia at that point? Like, were you already, as you're there on the floor with the cake, were you like, oh, I don't like myself? Or were you like, this is cool? Oh, you did?
Yeah,
okay.
My dad used to call me fat growing up all the time. And, I was overweight and the kids would bully me and what have you. So I had that whole, I'm not lovable because I'm too fat concept. But Cake loves me. Cake isn't going to, shame me or leave me. Cake is always here. So Cake was the go-to. And then when my roommate was like, well, that's not normal. I thought it was normal because that's what we did.
So Unpause Your Life, I love that, and Unpack Your Backpack. Where'd that all come? Where'd that come from?
That came from me one night in the shower of what else can I do? What else can I do to shift my clients? Because in addiction, up until about 5 years ago, addiction was treated like addiction is your problem, right? You go to AA, you go to NA, you say, hi, I'm an addict. Hi, I'm an alcoholic. You own your problem. Yeah. And I kept saying, this isn't jiving with me. This isn't right. Yeah. There's got to be something we can do different. Yeah. So I shifted it with my clients and I said, let's talk about unpausing your life and not about the addiction. That's just a problem you have. That's
Right.
not who you are. And when I did that, my success rate shot up. And I went, I got something. Now it's not just drugs and alcohol. Now it's everybody
Yeah.
who feels like their life is on pause. They're stuck. They're burnout. You've got kids, you've got the job, you've got to work out, you've got to eat healthy,
So
you got
much
to watch
stuff.
TikTok, you got all these
Yeah.
things to do, and you're exhausted. Your life's on pause. You're not really
Yeah.
living authentically. So I started going down that rabbit hole, and I started getting a really good response.
So with your personal experience, and that makes sense around the addictions, even with like your training and education, did you also just go down that addiction road? Because I have a funny story. Like, I want to hear what road you went down, and I'm going to tell you something funny that.
So I wasn't trained yet. I was still in college. I was a psych major.
Right.
And I was taking abnormal psych, and I wanted to work with the FBI in the BSU way before Criminal Minds came on TV. And I learned women didn't work in the BSU. The best I would get is undercover narcotics.
Yeah.
And I said, this is really boring.
Yeah.
So then I started studying addiction, and that's when I went, oh my God, those are my people. That's when it all clicked.
Yeah. Well, it's so you're a trailblazer in many ways, but so one of my first graduate training was at a methadone clinic by accident.
Oh wow.
So when you're talking about like the fat doctor, and it's like opioids, right? Like this is another sort of epidemic that's occurred where it's absolutely prescribed and an issue, but it was totally by accident. And as a professor, I think everyone should have to treat addiction at one point in their training. What do you think about that?
Oh, that'd be great. And it's funny, not funny, but I worked at a methadone clinic in Kensington before Kensington, Philadelphia was as bad as it was.
Yeah.
And I would drive into the city with my clients, and we would dose all my clients at this one facility. And I remember thinking, how is this beneficial? How is this helping?
Same.
Yeah. Like
I was like, wait, where's the termination of methadone in the treatment plan? Was that
there's
your thought?
not.
None.
And the counseling, when I figured out what their counseling sessions were, I was horrified. I'm like, we're not talking about getting off the drug. You're saying, did you use today? Did you eat today?
Yeah.
Are you good? Okay, have a nice day. That's the whole session.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, if you're, for the listeners, Dr. Estes just put her air quotes for counseling, so it's not real counseling. I hear you. So this nickname battery recharger, talk to me about that.
So a friend of mine who owns a treatment center in Denver gave me that because I came in to train his staff. And I came in, and when I teach, I get really excited. It's like my passion, right?
Yeah.
And I'm teaching this whole room full of people in recovery that work there. And they're kind of like, they're tired. They're not paying attention. And I just like gave it 110%. He's like, oh my God, for 5 hours, you were on. Like there was you weren't down. You were just on. And I'm like, I'm still on. Let's go to dinner. Let's go here. Let's go here. And he's like, what on earth? And I'm like, I get a jolt out of teaching. And that's where it came from.
Yeah. Well, so then how do you recharge your batteries? Like what's your plan?
So I go to the gym every day. I'm a big hot yoga fan.
Nice.
I got trained to teach Ashtanga in '99. So I go to yoga.
Love it.
I do weights. I go for walks outside. I travel. I love to travel, go somewhere new, have coffee, have something different, check something out. And starting companies also recharges my batteries, as crazy as that is. I get this idea and I'm like, let's do this.
Yeah.
And we add it or we do something different.
Yeah. Well, you like challenges, but I mean, if you work with addiction, you like challenges.
Yeah.
That's our mental health listeners will understand that. So, and what I loved about you and reading up on you and being a guest on your show is you've taken traditional talk therapy and outside the box, more holistic. And I think that's what you and I align really closely with. So why don't you tell us about your approach and how successful it's been for you?
So my signature is a 5-day executive reset that I do with executives and celebrities. These are people that don't want to go to treatment or have been in and out of treatment and nothing works. Mm-hmm. And in that 5 days, I throw CBT at them. I throw NLP at them. I throw memory reconstruction for trauma. I throw brain method, and you take your cortisol levels. We take your serotonin, dopamine levels, and we treat the entire person. Yeah. We even look at your gut health because people get sober. Like you can do a detox and you come off alcohol. Yeah. But if you don't cure and fix the problems in your body, your gut's out of whack, your brain is out of whack, you don't fix that chemical side, you're going to crave alcohol. You're going to crave sugar. Yeah. Sugar is alcohol. Bread is sugar. Sugar is alcohol. Yeah. You're right back on the wagon, and people go, I don't know how I got here. Yeah. And they try willpower. Well, I'm going to go to a meeting, and I'm going to get to therapy, and I'm going to do this willpower thing, and their battling an uphill battle with the chemical side.
Yeah.
So I treat the chemical side first.
Uh-huh.
We clear the body, we get the body healthy, then we treat the trauma because
Yeah.
there's always a trauma component.
Always.
So we desensitize in the brain, we desensitize the memories using memory reconstruction therapy. So if we neutralize these events, then we do NLP and cognitive behavioral therapy and performance coaching for the next result. So it's a 3-tiered approach. And I have had so much success with this, and I can do this in 5 days. And it takes treatment centers 30 plus just to get you started.
And so they're staying with you through this.
So I usually go to them.
Okay.
And I'll stay in a hotel and I'll show up for 5 days. So they can still work. They can still, if they're on tour, we'll do it on a tour bus. If they want to go on their yacht, we'll go on a yacht. Wherever they want to do it. Some of them will fly to a, exotic destination. I've done so much in Puerto Vallarta. They also, meet me in Mexico. Okay.
Yeah.
Meet me in Cabo, or meet me in Italy. We'll do it in this little hut thing that
more private,
whatever they want.
So is there shame in that? Like, are they trying to get somewhere where they're away, maybe not seen?
Sometimes, but mostly it's the exotic location makes them feel comforted. So maybe it's the ocean or it's the mountains. It's kind of, where can I be quiet and not have to deal with the husband or the dog or the phone is ringing or the neighbor's knocking on the door. It's just total isolation.
Yeah. And so we'll talk, I'm going to bring in like stages of change, Di Clemente, right? Like looking at, and Profosky and Di Clemente. Anyway, so maintenance, like, so 5 days, I love that. Like you said, traditional rehab is 30 days. But so for listeners, it's pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and maintenance. Do you find that after the 5 days, they're able to kind of get, because from that action, they're able to get into maintenance and kind of keep resilient?
Yeah. So they're in maintenance phase. And then we also do aftercare.
Okay.
So we'll check in once a week. We do that, for as long as they want. And we can do more per week to check in. So the goal is once you have the blueprint for success, which what we leave you with, you're able to weekly or daily implement that every single day.
Yeah. And
I use a lot of law of attraction. I use a lot of mindset shifting.
Beautiful.
So people will say, when I wake up, the first thing I say is, it's going to be a good day. That's, going forward. And they wake up and they're like, okay, the dog threw up. I'm late for work. This happened. I'm like, stop. It's going to be a good day. But it's not. No. It's going to be a good day. And once I get them in that mindset shift, things start to happen that are positive. And when they see those little tiny, amazing miracles or changes, then they can build. And when they build, they're like, wow, the dog threw up. I cleaned it up. I moved on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. Well, I know we share that dog love, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I just found a throw up actually on the rug this morning that I knew happened a few nights ago, but I checked it at 4 a.m. and I didn't see anything, but I just saw it today. So that hits home for me, that cleaning up the throw up. So so confidence and clarity, I know that with, your focus on Unpause Your Life, you're trying to support this need towards confidence and clarity, right? So like share more about that. Like, do you think with the maintenance stage, do they get more confident in their sobriety and they get more clear about values, or sort of how do they maintain this?
Yeah, well, most people in active addiction, there's 2 things they're missing, and it's just the same thing, everyone. We want to be valued and we want to be heard. And if we're not heard and we're not valued, whatever vice you reach for goes up. And it can be anything. You could be on Amazon Prime shopping. You could be playing video games. You could be, TJ Maxx shopping. Whatever it is, if you don't feel valued and heard, then those things happen. So we start there. We build your confidence to feel valued and to feel heard. And with a lot of women and addiction, it's I'm not good enough is the theme. I'm not good enough.
Is there a difference of men and women in that, would you say?
Yeah. Yep. And with men and addiction, it's I can't provide enough. I can't do enough for the family, and my wife's not happy. My kids are not happy. That's my fault.
Yeah.
So we start with, you're not responsible for anybody's happiness.
That's right.
But your own. All you can do is be the best version of yourself, which then kind of uplifts everyone else, right? Yeah. And maybe you're not in the right relationship. I deal with a lot of couples that come in and they're like, we're not getting along and this is wrong and this is wrong. And I say, well, why are you two together? You hate each other.
Totally. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
You're trying to make something work that's not going to work. Let's talk about your individual happiness.
Yes.
And then when you raise your frequency and you vibrate higher, you're going to have a whole different level of people that are interested in you because you're not on the same frequency.
Totally. I love that because I was just talking to a colleague yesterday about emotionally focused therapy, Sue Johnson, who passed away this year. And we do a lot of that where it's the goal is not to stay together necessarily. Sometimes as good clinicians, the goal is to help people split up,
Yeah.
and I guess so I know you've worked with like very impressive clientele. And what's like one piece of advice you would want to share with us today, like a takeaway that's been most meaningful for your clients?
So start small. Everybody comes at this like, I'm going to get sober, I'm going to build a business, I'm going to make a bunch of money, and they all want to do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So start small.
I love that smart, like that start small thing. I mean, in mindfulness, we say celebrate small victories, and that's really important. And so that's great advice. And so many, as you know, our clients and ourselves, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I get overwhelmed. You get overwhelmed at times? Please tell me you do.
Sometimes. I was overwhelmed 2 days ago. I was like, my laundry list of stuff to do is just growing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need more help. I need more help. And everyone I'm talking to says the same thing. We have all this stuff to do and we can't get it done. And I'm like, all we're doing is stuff.
Yeah.
Like, where's the fulfillment anymore? It's like, do this, do this, do this, do this. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you have to find the fulfillment in the values. And I think just normalizing that for listeners of like, we all feel overwhelmed from time to time. And I think you and I are very similar in many ways. And I like to push the limits on my to-do list, and I to see how much I can get done.
Yeah.
So, and especially I see this in like the athletes I work with, and hindsight's 2020. So what's one thing that you wish you could tell yourself if you can go back to your college years? Let's say you being in college and you got, off the floor and got the cake out of their hand. Like what would you do that would make you less stressed out?
I think I would tell myself life is fluid. There's going to be ups and downs, no matter what you're doing, whether it's business, it's a relationship, whatever it is, there's ups and downs. You're going to have really bad days and you're going to have really good days. Yeah. And it's going to all balance out. It's just like the sun and the rain, right? It's not going to rain every day. It can't. Nothing would grow. It's not going to be hot and sunny every day. Nothing would grow. There has to be a balance.
Yes.
So when you have a bad day, take the day off. Go for a walk. Go to the gym, go to the day spa, do something to make yourself feel better because the next day is probably going to be better.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great advice. And I think doing that more regularly, trying to have a plan in place. And I love the day spa or just getting massage or, anything that you can do like that. So what about some, last words? I know that you've talked a lot today about, your journey, and I appreciate you sharing that. So any last words about your work that I think is just so amazing?
Don't get into burnout. Try to give yourself some downtime, even if you take a walk. I know people get overwhelmed with the to-do list, the tasks, and that's when we start drinking or we take a diet pill or we take something to keep going. Go do 50 squats, go for a walk, do some downward dog yoga poses, do something to get your exercise going because that'll boost your serotonin dopamine. When you boost your dopamine, it's the happy chemical. If you're in the happy phase, you're going to be more happy about that long to-do list than you are if you're sitting there going, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed.
I love, you just said burnout. So I'm going to just jump on that for a second because you talk about your 5-day executive reset, which sounds amazing. I want one. But, how many of them come to you when they're burnt out?
All of them.
I knew it 100%.
Everybody with an addiction, there's a big burnout factor.
Yeah.
And it's that whole, I have so much to do. I'm doing. I'm not stopping. And then it's like, what else can I take to keep going? And then, now I'm taking too much. So I'm not doing anything. Yeah. And they're burnt.
Yeah. It's like all or nothing, right? I mean, that's the cognitive behavioral therapy part. And I always say, like, I've had clients who, like you said, I mean, don't wait, take the 5-day executive reset. And also don't wait for that. Like you don't have to have a 2-week trip to Zimbabwe or, Switzerland or, you can take a day off. Like you said, like start small. Like you just need these things regularly. So one of the things I do is once a month, I have a whole week where I don't schedule clients, which is wild. I'm lying a little bit because I'm trying to, post-COVID, I'm still trying to get back to that. Pre-COVID, I was very good about that. It was like clients knew that you'd see me weekly, but then there was always 1 week a month that you would not see me. Mm-hmm. Do you do anything like that in your regular practice?
I do. So I only see 5 clients a week. I'm exclusive and I don't do any more than that. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes I'll do a 3-day weekend or I'll tell them I'm unavailable. Don't call or text. Because most of my clients I'm available 24/7 for. It's more concierge.
Sure.
But I've been taking smaller weekend trips,
Nice.
going to visit friends. I've got one lined up. I just took one to St. Pete. I've got one lined up to Philly, where I
Nice.
just fly in and we do the whole Swedish concept. We just go hang out and run errands.
Yeah.
We don't have to go anywhere. We don't have
That's
to
right.
do anything spectacular. We're just, having fun. We'll go have a cup of coffee at 2:00
Yeah.
on a Tuesday,
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice.
Oh, I love that. I hope you guys hear that, because that's, Dr. Estes is living what she preaches. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here today. And as I've mentioned in the first podcast, this show is truly meant to be safe space and a place of support and gratitude. So Dr. Cali Estes, thanks again for being here. Where can people find you?
They can find me at theaddictioncoachonline.com or soberondemand.com, and I am all over social media as Dr. Cali Estes.
And Dr. Cali Estes is great, so go find her. And thanks again for tuning in. You can find me at everywhere at officialdrpete.com. Until then, spread a little kindness and stay well.